Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host Hamza Chowdhury, doing a special video for you guys today on the channel. It is Saturday, April 24th. The main reason I wanted to do this video, I wanted to talk about Ocgn. It was a very interesting stock. I've watched it for quite a while. I know it's been kind of a favorite meme stock for quite a lot of folks. And one of the things I've never really talked about for a lot of you guys is there's a reason I sort of got into real estate investing, which was about a decade ago. And so I've been trading for about 12 years, 2008 when I was 25. And one of the things I kind of got tired of was market manipulation. Like most retail traders, I had a full-time job, didn't really know necessarily what I was doing day to day on trading. I was doing more swing trading. And then what would happen is you would, make a bunch of money and then hold on to a long position to see it essentially gone, if not negative, a couple days later. And so a lot of these momentum stocks, a lot of these sort of penny stocks that I was playing at the time were essentially junk stocks. And I didn't quite understand what it was I was doing, why I was entering it. It seems like, we were essentially, I was following the sheep, right? I was like following the herd, where does the herd go? And so I felt like I wanted to come on today just to kind of talk about the stock. Ocgn is a stock symbol. I could care less about the company. What I wanted to do in this video for you guys is actually go over a couple tools that I personally used in my day trading to understand a company and its sort of financials and potentially what risk I may need to mitigate before I either invest or even if I day trade. And so I really hope with what happened yesterday in the price action, if you go back to a daily chart or a minute chart yesterday, if you're interested, I will be going over it in this video. But I really wanted to come on today just to kind of talk about it, what happened, how it happened, and how you can protect yourself. And that's why I really wanted to make this video on a Saturday morning, guys. Is it just really bothered me because it reminded me of why I kind of backpedaled off of trading about a little over a decade ago before I got back into it, obviously as a full-time day trader as well. And so with that said, guys, as always, I appreciate your support. If you did enjoy this video, do smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. As always, guys, we don't sell you any chat rooms or any type of software or anything like that. We're a 100% free content channel and rely purely on your support to spread the channel and to gain our subscribers. As always, guys, I appreciate it. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the chart just so we can kind of understand the price action. And then I'm going to go over two of the tools that I personally use. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them below. Okay. Thank you. All right, guys. So I basically have my daily chart here on my TradingView platform. You can join TradingView with the link below. And so what happened was you can see this sort of jump in volume back here in end of December, and this became a meme stock. You can see the volume really picked up, and there was news about COVID and all the things that we've seen with INO and all the rotations on all the different stocks that we trade that have to do with COVID. And so you can see it gained a lot of momentum, but guess what it also created was a lot of bags, right? So people who bought up here in the high teens, and then it sort of faded off. And then of course, there's always sort of a retest of some of these levels. But essentially, it really just faded off. And so recently, the last couple days, Thursday and Friday, you may notice that the volume jumped. And so here was a stock that was down to $5, guys. I mean, it was just trading up in the 10 just, a few weeks ago. And so there's a lot of people carrying the bags who were potentially long, who believe in this company. And so all of a sudden, you see this jump in volume, and there's really no news on the stock. And then all of a sudden you can see on yesterday when I saw the stock on the scanners, I was like, oh, well, this is an interesting trade. And so I actually looked right back here it was around $10, $11 for a long trade. And so I scalped some out. I had a few meetings yesterday, so I didn't have a chance to just sit and enjoy the price action, but it ended up getting all the way up to over $13, which is an absolute steal. And so it got pumped up and then it started to fade off. And so I want to talk specifically about what happened yesterday, not so much on Thursday. And so if I look at my minute chart here, basically what happened was back here is when I mentioned to you guys, right, is that if you're short, okay, and it starts to fade off and then it breaks, you can take that breakout trade, but you can see there was a lot of choppiness. And so I was scalping long, didn't think about it. Like I said, I was out of the trade before my meetings around 9 o'clock. And you can see this thing ran really strong, okay? And so when it ran, basically it started to fade off, okay? And when stocks start to fade, they start to break down levels, so that you can look at a key level here, back where it broke out, it has some consolidation, and so it consolidated high, and then it failed. And then all of a sudden, I was starting to look at a short. Now, why was I looking at a short in the afternoon? Well, obviously you can clearly see this thing was starting to fade off, but you can see this level right here right, where we had a lot of consolidation, this was going to be sort of the area that I was interested in shorting, which is around 12.20. Well, the thing is, if you look here, we got topped off around $12. And so I didn't take that position mainly because I was looking for the 12.20 area, and I wanted to have, not necessarily not trying to top tick, but I'm just looking for an area of really where we can have some push. And you can see the volume was consistent. It didn't feel heavy. And so I waited, and then all of a sudden I watched the price action, and it was just a massive drop. And so in this candle, it went from a high of 1188 to a 1056. And you can ask yourself, well, what happened? Why all of a sudden is the volume so big? How were people able to react so quickly? And it's all because of market manipulation. It's all because people can hit that sell button faster than most retail traders who are potentially working a job, potentially out, maybe grabbing lunch or something. And so it actually got halted. And so it fell so fast, right, that when a stock drops so much in such a short amount of time, I believe it's 10% in 5 minutes, then it all of a sudden gets halted, and then it opened up again. And I actually picked up a long position right here. Ended up picking a long position right at 940. I think it was like 47. What was the low on this candle? 445. So I picked it up right at the low, and so it opened up, it flushed, and then you can see it came right back up. Okay, and so I wasn't surprised. Obviously the buyers got back into this trade, but the problem is that there was an offering that was announced. Okay, what caused this was an offering, and most people who are new to trading are like, well, what's an offering? Guys, before you invest in a company, just do a little research. And this is for you guys who are looking for a long-term trading. Okay, if you're a day trader like me, you could care less about the company that you're investing in, right? Because you're not really investing, you're trading it. If you're actually investing long-term in a company, whether it's a meme stock, whether it's something you heard of, please do some just basic research. I'm going to show you just a couple things that you can do in under 5 minutes to better prepare yourself to avoid. And because what really bothered me was that if you look at the volume from yesterday, the volume yesterday was closer to like 450 million shares were traded. And so there were a lot of people that were either holding on to shares thinking this thing was going to keep going up, or people who had just bought shares thinking this thing might go back up and test the highs, that are bagging the stock and lost a lot of money. And I saw it because people post about this stuff and you see it. And that bothered me, and kind of reminisced what I was mentioning earlier about market manipulation. And so I was mentioning to longs here is, guys, I was out right before $10. I wasn't looking to hold a position. And so you can see that clearly, if you have an offering of 10 million shares at $10, you're basically flooding the market with additional shares. And so there's more shares on the market, it dilutes the shareholder. And so why would you pay $11, $12 for a stock that was just offered at 10? And so what they did is they dropped the news here, it tanked the stock, and then all of a sudden it held essentially below 10. And then you can see after market, it did have sort of a bump up here on very low volume. And so what I want to explain on here is that I would be looking personally for a short and a run and a jam up into these levels coming into Monday's trading. And so if you want to take sort of a revenge trade, which I don't necessarily recommend, but if you're interested on the short side of the trade, this is the level, like I mentioned, that I was looking for here to potentially short. Okay, so it'd be between the 12 to the 12.20, and I would definitely be cutting it anything above 12.50, 12.75. I wouldn't be shorting. Okay, and so they did the offering. Then the news has been announced, and so what I would be looking for essentially is that this thing's going to gap up on Monday and then look to short it around here, around the 12.25 range. Now what I wanted to do too before I sort of end this video was talk about a couple tools that you can use to help you in your trading. And the first one, of course, that we've talked about in the past is FinViz. It's FINVIZ.com. What's nice about this stock, you can type in any ticker right here and it pulls out some really useful news and tools. And so the first thing I want you to understand is this thing called the shares outstanding and the share float. Okay, the shares outstanding is the shares that are basically out there on this publicly traded company that are out there in totality. Okay, the share float are the shares that are actually you're able to trade. Okay, so even though there's 188 million shares, there's only 181 million shares that you can actually trade. And so what they did yesterday is they announced that, hey, we're going to add 10 more million shares out there into the market. And so of course you're adding, right, 10 million shares, so you're adding a significant amount of more shares to the market. And so that's one big thing, but you can also look at the share float. And so the short float, something that you can look at is in terms of how many percentage of people who have the shares are actually shorting the stock. meaning that they're selling the shares to hope that the thing tanks and go to buy. So one of the things you may notice in Clover and some of these other stocks that have recently gone up is that they have a higher short float, right? So it's called a short squeeze. When, for example, you have, let's say, something that's like greater than 20%, 20, 30, 40% short interest. So you have, let's just say, a third of the people with shares are shorting it. And then all of a sudden the buyers step in and they start buying the stock. And now the shorts are being forced to cover. And so when you look at a short float, yeah, 15%, not necessarily too heavy, but it's, it's up there. But anything greater than 20 is where I would look at potential short squeeze. Okay. But look at the 52-week range. Look at where the stock has already gone. It's gone from 17 cents. It was a garbage stock up to $18. Okay. And so it's kind of interesting to see that a stock can run that much. It has such a big float, right? And so you have to really understand what is the stock doing? Is it making money? Is it, what's the news? And so what you want to do at the bottom here is you can actually see sort of the recent news for the stock. And so they talked about positive data for COVID. Obviously, that's been always a runner for most stocks. And then you can see, of course, here the news of the direct offering, the common stock offering. And so you can read the recent news on the stock to kind of understand real quickly what's going on, what's the news. And this is for people, again, who don't have like live radio feed on news articles. This is something you could do while you're at your job to understand, okay, what's going on. This is an app. They also have a FinViz app you can install on your phone. And so these are something you can do, just some basic research to understand why stock's running. If you're on StockTwits, they also have a running feed here also. And so there's a lot of different things that you can actually look at. One of the things that I'm not a fan of are these guys, H.C. Wainwright. They are known to be publicly writing these offerings. And so when you see them specifically upgrade stocks, understand they're writing these public offerings. They are the guys who are underwriting this. And so they want the stock to run. They want the stock. And people knew the news and they pumped up the stock. And that's the manipulation part of this video, is how did the stock run based on COVID news, right? They released news and people started buying it up, but it also kept running. It was a continuation play from Thursday. And then of course you have these guys who are underwriting their offerings and they're making money doing so. And so the things to look at again are going to be the share float. Okay, what's the short float interest? Look at the price range to see if this thing can really run any further, especially when it's made this type of run. Look at recent news, but also look at what? Income. Guys, most of us, maybe some of you guys watching this video, own a business. This business is losing $34 million. It's not making money. If it's not making money, then how's it going to pay its bills? How's it going to operate? What does it need to do? It's a publicly traded company, guys. How does it raise money? It raises it by doing a stock offering. So why are there longs in the stock that is clearly losing a ton of money, that doesn't even have enough money to pay its bills? And so the other website I wanted to introduce you to is called BAMSEC, BAMSEC.com. Okay, and with BAMSEC, essentially you can come in. So let's go ahead and go in here and you can actually just search. Same thing as FinViz, any ticker. And so in this case, I have OCGN already loaded up. And one of the things that you could pay attention to is what? Look, in the prospects is what? There is going to be an offering. They've put in the past offerings they've already filed, but they haven't executed. And then what you can do is you can look at the 10Ks. The 10Ks, guys, again, none of us are finances. I'm an engineer by trade, but just knowing some basic information can help you be better prepared. So the 10K is what? Recent financials, right, for the stock. So now if we go down here and we look at the financials, exhibits and financial statements, okay, which is item 15, it's down here. Clearly, they don't want to talk about their financials. So a lot of them, we'll put them at the end, hoping people don't get down that far. And so if you look here, this is called a balance sheet. Okay, two things you need in business: balance sheets and profit loss statements. Tells you basically what are some of the assets of the businesses, what are some of the liabilities of the businesses, what does the business have, how strong is it, how liquid is it. And so if you look at the December over the December, okay, 2020, this was only 3 months old, you can see that OCGN has about $27 million in assets. You say, oh, okay, well, that seems pretty good. That sounds like it has a lot of assets. And then you look here and you say, okay, current liabilities, $3 million. And then you can see here that it has, okay, other liabilities. And so the number you want to look at here is what? Common stock, stockholders' equity. So common stock here says what? Excuse me, right here, preferred stock, 10 million shares authorized. What did they do yesterday? They authorized 10 million shares at $10 a share. Okay. And so when you see and you just look at the balance sheet and you can see that what shares are authorized and they haven't released on the market, that's your risk of an offering. They have overhead. They essentially are going to do an ATM at the market offering. In this case, they actually did it at $10, which was at that time the stock was trading at closer to 12. And so this is what you need to look for, okay? And then if you continue on, okay, and you look at what we call the loss, the profit loss, look what's going on here, guys. Operating expenses, negative $21 million. Okay, when they raised 10 million shares at $10 a share, guys, they just raised, you just gave them $100 million. You gave them $100 million. Now, what do they need this money for? It's not Moderna. It's not Tesla. We've talked about in the past, right? Tesla is going to use that money to go build a plant, right? They need to raise money. They're going to go build a plant. Moderna is going to raise that money because they're building their vaccines. This isn't to fund just so they can keep their lights on. And so when you operate a company, look what the total loss is. Okay, their total losses. You can look at the net loss, but the total loss, everything all in, they're losing $21 million. This isn't even a company that is making money. They're losing money. They're bleeding money. So they needed to do the offering to just pay their basic bills. Look at their total revenues. $42,000? You know, and it like I said, 2019, they had no revenues. And so this is what bothered me yesterday. Honestly, it really bothered me because I really thought, and I see this obviously every day, but it really bothered me because I know a lot of people are in the stock, they're fans of the stock, and what really bothered me, guys, personally, was that there are people who put, you know, and again, everyone's on their own, right? You should know, you should do your due diligence, but this is what bothered me is that the market manipulation, and that's why I was mentioning I backpedaled about a decade ago when I first got back into real estate investing. And so they're losing $21 million, they don't have income, they don't have money, they're losing money, they barely have income, and yet we have tons of people investing in this junk garbage company. With that said, guys, I hope with these two tools you can use them. Please take a look at them this weekend whenever you get a chance to watch this video. Feel free to post a question or comment if this video was helpful. Do smash that like button, guys. As always, I appreciate you, and I'm always looking out for everybody. And I appreciate you guys, and have a good weekend, okay? I'll see you guys on Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.